Hello and welcome to another video. This is going to be drums part 2 for my intro series that I've been doing to kind of introduce a bunch of the music or the instruments that I teach. Um, this is also, I guess, the last part 2 video, and we're going on to part 3. So excited about that. I'm excited to play the drums and rock out a little bit. There's not much to say other than I have mic'd up my drum kit fairly roughly, but it is mic'd. So we got a snare mic, two overheads, and a bass drum mic. The bass drum mic is just a condenser, but it sounds pretty cool anyway. Let's see. Gonna play some Linkin Park in honor of them starting to make some music again. I'm so excited for them to be getting back and releasing music again. After the passing of Chester Bennington, they now started working with Emily Armstrong as a singer. And they put out a couple songs, and they just put out one a couple weeks ago called The Emptiness Machine, which is a dope song, and the music video is even cooler. So I'm just super excited to have them making music again. And I also wanted to do this song in particular by them in honor of my neighbor from 15 plus years ago who introduced me to Linkin Park. He was a couple years older than me, and I used to go through the backyard and hang out at his house, and we would play like Call of Duty and listen to Linkin Park all the time, and it was great times. But yeah, we used to listen to this song in particular a bunch, and I just love this song and wanted to give him a shout out too because he just got married as well. Shout out to Elliot. And we're going to do Faint by Linkin Park from Meteora, the 2003 album. So let me just make sure. Oh gosh. This one is left. Alright, hold on one second. Should be good. Okay. All right, so I was pretty close to perfect. Uh, that song, I don't know. It's great. It is. I do teach it to a lot of my students. It is more of a intermediate song. I consider it. There's a few, well, a bunch of other ones that I teach to beginners first, but that is kind of like one of the, I don't know, one of the first rock songs I do with a lot of intermediate drummers. Um, Mainly because there's a lot of snare work. There's baby moth. It's back. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of ghost notes on the snare. There's parts where there's closed and open hi hat, and I don't know. There's a lot you can do with um, the verses because Mike Shinoda, who does a lot of the rap parts, or most all of them, for Linkin Park, because there's so many syllables in the verses, you can accent a lot of them with different drums. So I did almost what I wanted to do in the parts of the second verse, where there's just a little bit more of an active snare and hi-hat groove that kind of goes right along with the rap words that he does. And there's so many cool like polyrhythms and displacements that you can do on the hi-hat and the snare to go along with his lyrics. And pretty much any rap song can have that kind of thing going on. I love playing to like Tupac and just all the rap songs that I love on drums. And because I learned drums like completely on my own, I feel like I have a lot of I don't know. I take a lot of freedom and liberties with the drum parts, and it's not exactly what the song is or anything. I don't. It's not really important to exactly match everything about a given song. But if the groove is there and you're holding it down as a drummer, then you're in a pretty good place. And it's cool to take some creative freedom with your own music or other people's music. So, um, kind of, I guess, considering some of the things that I was throwing in there, when I say ghost notes on the snare, they're normally in a 4/4 rock song like this. The snare is played on beats 2 and 4. So the pulse of this one is kind of like, I can't fade the way I did before. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on those 2s and 4s, we usually will play the snare. But um, in the drum part itself of the actual song, there is some ghost notes built into the beat. It's like boom cha cha, and some of those I don't know. That's my way of explaining it today. Some of those little accents and stuff that are on the snare. What a ghost note tends to be is like a softer played note, usually only with the center of the snare. And then on the 2s and 4s, I was doing a lot of rim shots. So the rim shots are always going to be a little bit louder and deeper because it includes the rim of the snare drum, and it really gets the whole drum kind of vibrating and resonating and um, yeah, it's got a completely different sound, and it's usually slightly louder than just hitting the center of the snare. But it does depend on how you play it, and there are some great dynamics in this song too. Like I love how it builds up from like quiet to kind of all out right in the intro. And then again, they kind of do that same thing. Uh, is it after the chorus or the bridge? It's after the second chorus or the bridge. Yeah, I think it's after the bridge, and it's before they go into the last chorus, where the drum part kind of really dies down again, and they go from really, really heavy in that bridge part, where Chester's like screaming his lungs out, uh, and it cuts way back down to almost like a piano uh, dynamic, and the production on this is really cool because they took the drum part and put what are called low pass and high pass filters on the drum part, and it makes it sound almost like it it takes away a lot of the low frequency detail and the high frequency detail. So if you've ever heard kind of like a telephone sounds like somebody's on the telephone, or it can sometimes almost sound like the whatever instrument is like underwater. They add that kind of effect to that quieter part, actually both in the intro and after the bridge, and then it kind of comes back full force, and they take off the high pass and low pass filters for when the it opens back up into the chorus, and that's just a really cool production technique that a lot of heavy rock and metal bands will use. You'll hear that in intros of so many metal songs. It's almost getting cliche, but uh, I don't know. This is I'm never opposed to it. I think it's a great effect. There's that. That song didn't use a whole lot, or doesn't use toms really at all, um, and that's cool. It doesn't really use the ride cymbal at all either. Um, but yeah, I got to see Linkin Park actually right before Chester passed away. I think it was like within a year. Uh, they were touring the Hunting Party album, but they played a little bit of everything, and it was an amazing concert. Um, and they were with 30 Seconds to Mars and AFI, and I'll always, I don't know, remember that concert, and I'm so glad I got to see them before we lost Chester. But yeah, Linkin Park was just one of the first rock bands I was ever even exposed to because my parents are not super into rock. They're into like 80s music and I don't know, softer listening stuff. Uh, and I was exposed to like a lot of like more orchestral stuff and like classical and um, I don't know, old timey stuff, and they at least they did show me the Eagles, and the Eagles are also one of my favorite all time bands. I think they're the greatest American rock band that's larger than I don't know 6 players that there ever was. It's a hot take, but I think they have enough music that is incredible to kind of back up that take. But it would be interesting to hear what any of you thought about that. Um, but yeah, so I was never exposed to like rock that was anything like Linkin Park before until my neighbor Elliot showed me, and it really kind of started me out on my own search for music that I really loved, and I think that is an important search to be done for any musician. Always exposing yourself to new music, and especially as a drummer, with my students, I really try to force them out of their comfort zone, play a lot of different styles of music, whether it's rock, pop, Latin, jazz, funk, um, R&B. There's a lot of amazing R&B drum music. So just really getting a kind of a broad range of exposure and developing skills with different genres. You could spend an entire lifetime just learning like jazz drums or um, any given kind of genre, but I think some of the best drummers that I know are very like capable of playing a whole lot of different kinds of music. So I try to encourage that for my students as well. And this is pretty interesting. So when I started playing drums. Let me see if I can find some stuff. I was the first kind of exposure that I had to drums was from uh, my bandmate James, who is a great drummer, and we were in a band together. Well, I guess that's not true. There's been a lot. Uh, I was in the first band I was ever in. I was with two of my friends, Gabe and Finn, and Finn is a great drummer, but his older brother Connor was a very good drummer, and not Connor anymore, but my apologies. But uh, then my bandmate James came around, and he was just such a good drummer, and I kind of just learned from listening and jamming with him, just all about what it's like to play with a drummer. And then, as I was kind of explaining in part one of the drums, um, I was exposed to how to write for drums uh, very heavily in college, and I had to write a whole ton of drums, so much that I kind of like was able to build up the confidence to just start messing around with them myself. And to be honest, guitar is probably my favorite instrument, but drums is way up there too. Like I think drum. I don't know. It's pretty interesting because drums did not really come too naturally to me, but I wanted to be a drummer so bad, and um, I worked really hard at it. Um, and now it's just one of my absolute favorite instruments to play. But what I was gonna bring up was, let me see if I can turn the screen here so I can see myself. Okay. Some of the different sticks and stuff and other things that we use as drummers. So, um, these are some of James's sticks. These were the first sticks that I learned on, and I haven't broken them yet, uh, which is great. But these are Vic Firths, and they're so old and worn out that I can't. These are Steve Gadd Vic Firths. So these were the first ones that I learned on, and then I got some of these 5A Rebound Pro Mark sticks as well, and I do love these also. But fairly recently, at another place where I work called School of Rock, and I teach all the same instruments that I teach for my business there. Oh my god, so tight. uh, I started playing with these because they were just like in the drum room. Let me adjust this. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. So these are American. Hello? Can we focus? American classic, two Bs, and these are really quite large sticks. But I actually started to fall in love with the larger sticks. I was um, teaching a bunch of lessons with them, and the more and more I played them, I'm like, this is awesome because I don't know. You can play the same kind of with the same amount of force with your hands, but these are even louder. So to me, they're a little bit more dynamic, and I like having the feel of like um, I don't know, just the weight of them. They're a little bit heavier and stuff, um, and I just feel like I can drum in control a lot with the thicker sticks. But really, stick preference is a very personal thing, and I would just say try out a bunch of different ones, and you got to find your way through that too a little bit. But those are some of the sticks that I use, and then it's just gonna show. Oh, there are plastic tipped drums or sticks as well. I don't really play with plastic tips really much at all, but that's an option too. Um, some of those I got from the Hard Rock Cafe, so they're not even like I don't know super professional sticks or anything like that. But I try out a little bit of everything and feel it out. Um, but okay, here are some other things that are common to be used as a drummer. These ones that are covered in felt, these are a specific thing that is actually used a lot in like orchestral music for whoever's on the uh, cymbals. And these for I don't exactly understand the physics of it and how it works with the cymbal, but you can base well, I guess. So because they're felt, they don't have very much attack to them. And the idea of these is not to have any real attack on the drum that you're playing these with. These are really meant for rolls and building up a lot of noise, I guess, in a given cymbal. So I'm just gonna do this with the crash ride over here real quick. Yeah, so that's the general idea for those. It's just a kind of a way to build up a lot of noise in the cymbals, and it can be a really cool effect for like quieter parts of a song, um, instead of um, hitting a bunch of the bells of the different cymbals. That can be really cool in quieter parts of a song where there's not like a really defined heavy drum beat. But what was I saying? I don't even know. Oh yeah. But yeah, so that's another thing that you can do, just like in certain parts of the song, and it's good to have a pair of those, um, especially if you're like trying to be a gigging musician and like work with people that just want you to be their drummer for like a bunch of covers and stuff. You might be asked to um, use something like that for some of the songs that they do. You never know. It's just better to be prepared. And these are brushes, and these are typically used in jazz, but not limited to jazz. Um, these are really interesting. They have this like I wonder what kind of metal this is. Kind of looks like nickel. I'm not entirely sure. Nickel or steel. Um, but yeah, so these are a way of like playing the drums again, getting rid of some of the attack that comes from playing with regular sticks. So there's not very much or as much attack on any of the drums when you play with brushes, but brushes are typical for jazz and stuff because of what you can do with them on the snare drum. By just kind of moving around uh, with the brushes on the snare, um, you can create this interesting kind of, it's like a pad almost, like a keyboard pad, or it's like kind of the underbelly of the sonic landscape that a lot of jazz drummers try to create when they use brushes. But no matter what drum you hit with these brushes, it's going to be much quieter than a typical drumstick. Um, Sometimes drummers will use like one one brush and one stick, or I don't have any of these right now, but there's kind of like a in between of a stick and a brush. There's these um, wooden. They're like much thinner pieces of wood that are all kind of like taped together. Um, and I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but um, when you have those, there's not quite as much as a tip on those, but it's not quite a brush. So it's kind of just like a quieter practice stick, or people will play with those on gigs and everything. They tend to break a lot because they are made up of like I don't know about 10 smaller, thinner pieces of wood that are like basically taped together, kind of. Um, but and I don't know. That's an option too. I don't really play with those a lot. I like regular sticks, and I'll mess around with brushes a little bit. But yeah, really, I'm more of a just bang the drums with regular drumsticks kind of drummer. So there's that. Oh, and I was gonna talk a little bit about this thing. This is a drum key, and this is how we tune a drum. So on any one of these drums, except for the cymbals, obviously, all of the what I guess what they call pitched drums. So the kick drum, all of the toms, and the snare, all are tuned with this what we call a drum key. And on each drum, there's about 10 lugs usually. Sometimes there's a little bit more, a little bit less for special certain drums, but usually about 10 lugs. And um, the tuning of drums is kind of complicated, so I'm probably not going to get into all that right now, but it is definitely a must have to have a drum key if you're using any kind of acoustic drums. Uh, and yeah, so on the top, to any of the pitched drums, there are two what we call heads, and the heads are like the middle of the drum, the things that go in between the outer structure of the drum and the given drum, and the top head and the bottom head each have 10 lugs, and they both have to be tuned to different um, frequencies, and you basically want to try to generally match the pitch of each part of the drum. So if I'm going on my low or high tom here, I'm hitting it in a bunch of different places very lightly, and that's one way to kind of tell. This isn't even tuned very well, to be honest, but uh, yeah, I'll fix that. But these heads are honestly worn out. I've been meaning to replace some heads, but uh, maybe when I do, I might make a little video about it. I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, tuning drums is like a whole art in itself. Um, it is very nuanced, I guess we'll say. And it can be kind of hard to hear exactly what you're trying to do and aim for. And in the studio, you would actually tune pretty much all your pitched drums to kind of align with the frequencies of the song. It's a whole big thing. Um, but yeah, um, um, I might even do an interview with another drummer that kind of knows even more than I do about drum tuning and stuff like that, for the channel. That would be kind of cool at some point. But yeah, I've played with so many amazing drummers. Oh my gosh, my favorite teacher at Berkeley, uh, one of them, named Renato Melone, is an Italian drummer and producer, and he is absolutely savage on the drums. I was able to. He recorded drums for basically like our whole class at some point, and we had to write a song, and then he played on it, and the one that I did is a song called "It's Just a Wish," which I haven't released, but it's a dope song, and it's like a duet with a male and female singer, and it's got a lot of percussion and drums and stuff to it, and he slayed that song. He was such a good drummer, and so I learned a lot of audio production and songwriting from a drummer, which was a very valuable thing. Um, and he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then in college, I was in a band, Zubux, and our drummer Max Meislich is in LA right now, and they've been working with a bunch of musicians and touring, and he was in London or something, I think, recently. And I follow a lot of amazing drummers on like Instagram and stuff, so I'm just constantly going after learning more and more and more, because this is definitely one of the instruments that um, I just don't have that 20 years of experience that I do with something like guitar. So I'm still kind of catching up, but also very. Uh, I have a broad, I guess, range of grooves that I love to teach and work with, and I love just showing drummers all different kinds of music, and we just work on composing different drum parts and getting creative with fills and all that stuff, and really just using the drums as like an improvisational instrument too, and just there's so much that I love about playing the drums. So I guess in part three, we're gonna do a lot more playing. I'm probably gonna pick a couple songs, couple different genres, and kind of just uh, give a sense of all of the diversity and different styles of drumming that are really cool to me. So uh, that I guess is good for this week, and going to be starting the last round of the intro series, part three, probably with guitar, and then I gotta pick um, some other topics that um, I'm gonna put out there. So if any of you are following along and you wanna learn about a certain aspect of music or some of the instruments that I've covered so far, just leave a comment and let me know, and I'll be sure to uh, work that in to whatever I plan on doing. But thank you for checking it out, and yeah, we'll see you next week for a guitar. Thanks.